Again, sorry for the delay in getting started there. I was at work and thought we had for 11 o'clock instead of 10. My fault for not reading the event more carefully. Joe is here with us, J E Pinto, with the Bright Side of Darkness, her award-winning novel. And what, Joe, I have your other book here, not in my hand, but what is the other one called?
The other one is called Daddy Won't Let Mom Drive the Car.
That's right. I got a lot of laughs out of that one. It was a really cute story, cute little book. Joe, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and what's going on?
Well, my first book came out in 2015. Oh, hi. Um, and that was The Bright Side of Darkness. And then I published my second book in 2019, which seems like a long time ago now. Um, and that was Daddy Won't Let Mom Drive the Car. True Tales of Parenting in the Dark.
Joe, did you want to
Um,
do a reading or anything?
oh,
It's up to you. You don't have to. I've got some questions for you if you want to jump on into those.
why don't we do those? Because I
Okay.
could, but I wasn't set up. I
Yeah, you're fine. Sometimes when I do these, the author has like some prepared. Sometimes they don't. We just kind of go with the flow, kind of to replicate the feel of what we would be doing in a coffee shop. So, Joe, my first question for you is: tell me about the Bright Side of Darkness and what inspired it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you because my computer was jabbering at me.
Sure, no problem. Joe, what inspired you to write Bright Side of Darkness?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but it started with a short story that I wrote for a high school English class, and that was in the late 80s. Yeah, I'm old. But um, I just sort of had a flash of these kids, these characters sitting on a bench at, sorry, my computer talks to me. I write with a computer that has screen reading software. And so when somebody chats, it babbles at me. Anyway, this was before the days of computers. It was in the days of Braille and typewriters and all that. So I wrote this short story for an English class. It was an AP English class. And I wrote about these kids in the projects, and it, um, they captivated me. I kind of fell in love with these kids. And then I put the story away in a scrapbook because I couldn't quite just toss it and that. And then I kind of forgot about it and went on with my life. And then I needed to learn how to use a word processor. It was before the internet still, but I needed a big chunk of text. So I took out this story and it kind of came to life again. I remembered the dust and the heat and these kids and their grit and their desperation and their loyalty. And the writing kind of sucked. It was very amateurish and it was not, I thought, wow, I got an A. But it came to life. And so I put it into the word processor and I moved things around and cut and pasted and deleted and added stuff and it got better. And I printed it out and I showed it to my husband at the time and he said, "You can't leave those kids like that. What happens to them?" And so I thought, well, what if? What if they had a mentor? What if someone actually cared about them? And so I kept writing and it turned into a novel, especially because we had lived in a really rough neighborhood and we had been the mentors to a lot of kids whose parents were either out doing crazy or working double shifts at the Scotch tape factory or in the fields. And I had seen what a mentor could do. You know, we were giving out breakfasts and helping with homework and going to labor classes at the hospital and putting on band-aids and all kinds of stuff for kids who didn't have any place to go, baking cookies and just giving advice and doing laundry and all kinds of things. And so there's not any real kids in that book. I didn't copy anybody, but there's a lot of real life in that book. And that was kind of where it grew out of. That was what inspired a lot of it, was those years that my first husband and I lived through. There's some outsiders influence in that book. I love the outsiders, but a lot of it is just where we lived and what we saw.
Thanks, Joe. I hadn't heard that part about your book before. And as long as I've known you, this is new news to me.
Oh, well, good.
I like it. I still haven't got my voice back.
No, I still need a book review from you.
That's true. Maybe not. Well, not today. I'm going to try to make mass.
Well, you have your hands full. You have
Yeah.
your grandbabies again.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot of work. I like your book though. I always have. It's you're right. It has a lot of life experiences in it. They seem very real to me.
They were very real.
Hey,
I wanted
Joe.
to write for the people that didn't have voices to speak up.
Hey,
Go ahead, Adam.
Hey, Joe, Tennille has a question here. She asks, do you plan to write a sequel or a branch off of it?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I've thought about it. I have some notes written down, but I don't know. Maybe. I haven't had time to sit and when I wrote that book, I had more time with that was uninterrupted. I have trouble writing like that, deep like that in bits and pieces.
Okay, I have to say, I'm secretly hoping you do write one, not publicly hoping you write one, and I'll babysit.
Oh,
So that you can.
Can't pass that up, Joe.
yeah.
Not me. I'm not. I won't volunteer.
You know what you're getting into, Tennille.
I got
What
you.
was that, Joe?
I said you know what you're getting into.
Oh yeah, the more the merrier.
Oh, God bless you, Tennille, because you won't hear that coming out of my lips.
Oh,
And I got more coming.
I actually have a little question and a bit of a thing I wanted to bring to your attention, Joe. I was thinking of writing my own book because I still want to get a hold of your book, Mommy Won't Let Daddy, or what is it? Daddy Won't Let Mommy Drive the Car. Sorry, I got it all backwards. But
that would
I
be
really want
interesting.
I'd love to get a hold of that book because I'm
Well, we'll talk.
struggling. Yeah, we can talk about that later. But yeah, because I think it would be my book is actually going to be part memoir, part what should we do about the situation, whatever it is.
Right.
And it's going to be a pretty simple. The memoir isn't going to really cover the entire 30 some years of my life, only about 15 of it.
Well, we can
But
talk about it.
yeah, I'd love to talk about that later. So just give me a
Okay.
call if ever you want.
Okay.
Thanks.
Joe, this is Adam. I do have a question. When you were writing this, one of your main characters is blind. Why did you want to include that in the story?
Um, there are not a lot of stories where there are strong disabled characters. They're either superheroes like Toph in the Airbender series, or they are pathetic and they have to be taken care of. And I wanted to include a real blind character who has flaws and also has strong points and who could take care of herself pretty much, but who also had vulnerabilities. Um, just a real person who was blind, who was not the main focus of the story. So it wasn't about this blind person overcoming something. And um, I just wanted to include a real person. And you don't see that in books. You know, it's either this blind person who gets their sight back and, you know, lives happily ever after, or it's this blind person who everybody has to deal with. I don't know. You don't see a lot of books where a blind person just is. So I just wanted to include a blind person who exists and is part of the fabric of life.
And Joe, you did a great job with that. That was one of the things I found refreshing about your book. And she's also kind of a spitfire, which, if I'm not mistaken, she might get a little of that from you.
Maybe.
Agree.
Although I was not like that at her age, I don't think. It took me, oh, maybe I was, I don't know. I think it took me a little while to blossom.
Well, you've blossomed wonderfully, and I absolutely love who you are in our friendship and all of our chats that we've had. Tennille has a question here. How did you decide to write from Rick's perspective?
I actually loved that because I could get out of my point of view, and it was very refreshing to become completely someone else. It was even the first person, so I didn't have to think about how I, as a middle aged woman, would view the world. I could completely become, you know, a teenage boy perspective and nothing, and I could filter everything through that. And
All
it
right, and
was
then what did
great.
you do to research the different types of events that happened in the story? Also from Tennille.
Oh, well, like when it took place in Seattle, I looked up the different tourist attractions there, and um, some of it I just knew, like the different life experiences and things, so I didn't have to do a lot of research there. Um, but there were some things I needed to research. Some of it I just picked people's brains about. I would say, okay, I need an engine problem that you could fix by getting a part off of an old truck. What goes wrong with the tractor? And I asked a mechanic friend of mine because there was an auto shop across the street, and I went over there and said, "Give me an engine problem," and I got it that way. So a lot of it was person to person things. I was lucky to have a lot of people around, and my first husband was a big one for that. He did a lot of the visual stuff. He'd say, "Nope, you can't have him looking off into the distance while he's driving a car. He's going to wreck. You need to fix that."
And Joe, what was the award that your book won?
It won a couple of indie awards, which is oh geez, what's it called? I'm drawing a blank. I'd have to look it up, but it's the Independent Publishing Awards. It won for first novel over 80,000 words, and it won for most inspirational novel, and then it won Colorado Independent Publishing Awards for contemporary fiction and inspirational, and it won a award for the Audible version because it's on Audible. It's paperback and it's also on Kindle. So the Audible version won an award for narration.
Nice. Now, switching gears for a second to your other book, Daddy Won't Let Mommy Drive the Car, which is an absolutely adorable book. How old is your daughter today?
She's 12.
And how is she doing with everything?
Um, she hates this whole quarantine stay in place business and she's missing her friends. But she's finding resources. She had a virtual sleepover last night with some friends of hers. They all got on the phone with their little FaceTime chat or whatever and stayed on there till 1 o'clock in the morning. And so they're figuring it out. If she could get rid of math, which she calls mental abuse to humans, then she would be pretty much
I'm
just
right there
fine.
with her.
They're doing converting decimals to percents, which I hate too, so I can't really blame her. You know, she's got the typical 12-year-old stuff going on. I could write another book about that, but it wouldn't be quite so adorable.
Hey, so in that book, you share a number of stories, kind of coming of age, and from your point as a mom, um, and you really kind of explain that relationship and how she copes with and how she helps you with you being blind. Any funny stories you've got that you can share about her currently that you've had with her?
Um, they're not quite so funny now because she's got a smart mouth. It's not quite as cute as it used to be, but she's still. The other day, we were in front of the mirror, and she said, "I don't know if y'all know who Toph is from the Airbenders, but she's blind and she sees with her feet by stepping on things." And
Oh
she
God.
said, "Mom, you're just." She said, "Toph is a younger, tougher, cooler version of you, but you're still pretty savage." I said, "Well, I think I'll take that as a compliment."
It was a compliment.
Yeah, that sounds like something a 12-year-old would say. So, Joe, circling back to your awards for The Bright Side of Darkness, Tennille asks, how do they become eligible to win awards? Do you submit them yourself, or are they just picked from a jury?
I submitted them. I'm thinking about submitting the, the Daddy Won't Let Mom Drive the Car to the SEPA Awards this year. I haven't decided, but you submit them and then they have to meet standards for grammar and punctuation and all that. That's the first level. They go through and select 2 or 3 pages and make sure as a sample that they don't have errors on them. And then if they pass that test, then they have a couple of readers read through the book and sort of, oh, it's kind of subjective, but it's like grade it and see how they like it. And then they pick the winners from, um, first, second, third place, or whatever it is for the award from that. Um, so I mean, it's kind of subjective, but they have 2 or 3 different readers do it, so they all come to a consensus. Um, and I don't, if they have it this year, I don't know with everything going on, but I was thinking about checking into the awards for um, this book.
And Joe, with everything going on, obviously we're all cooped up inside. What are you doing to stay sane? I guess I'll just ask it that way.
Um, it's hard to write because with only one child, I've become the entertainer and the punching bag by turns. Really, it depends on her mood. So writing is kind of hard, but I've been cooking because she doesn't follow me into the kitchen really. So that's been kind of my retreat. Um, and then I've been promoting more because my regular job has gotten kind of sketchy. I'm a proofreader regularly and I still have work, but when I'll get paid from it is a little up in the air. So I've been working on my Facebook page and my website and different things to make sure that
And
that's all keeping going.
for the aspiring writers out there, what tips do you have for promoting your work effectively and efficiently?
Facebook is a good thing, but like people have said, you don't own that, and they can always change your algorithms. So right now I have 1,000 followers, but um, I'm trying to build a mailing list and a website because that's more stable and that's also slower going. So um, my next step will get to be trying to where I can host my website because right now it's hosted by someone else and I don't know how to work all that. So there's a lot to it and it kind of interferes with what I really like to do, which is write. And so I would say, remember, you have to feed every fire you build. So, it's all nice to get a Facebook page, but then you have to keep it current. And it's nice to have a website, but then you have to keep that current. So for everything you do, you have to keep feeding it. And so then people say, oh, you should get Twitter and you should get Instagram and you should get LinkedIn and you should get, well, I haven't done all that because everything you build, you have to feed. And it gets to be a lot. So only build what you can feed.
That's very, very good advice. Any short stories or anything you're working on?
Oh, I have, but there are two kinds of people. There are the people that have more ideas than they have time to write, and there are the people who love to write but find ideas hard to come by, and I'm one of those. So if I get an idea, I grab it and nurture it. But um, I'm not one of those people that gets ideas every day. So I have written a few short stories, but I don't often come up with a good idea.
And
Okay,
now,
Adam, Adam, can I interrupt on that one for a second?
yeah,
She
who is
actually,
that? Neil? Yeah, go ahead.
Neil. So she actually comes up with good ideas all the time that she posts on her Facebook page. That if she compiled that, it'd also make a good book too.
Oh, maybe I just don't
Me,
see the good ideas that I come up with. I don't know. Maybe I just don't spot them.
And Joe, Elena typed in the comments that she'd love to see a sequel to your book. And actually, I'm going to piggyback on that, and I agree. Seeing a little bit more of what became of them, the future. If I recall right, they had kids, right?
Well, some of them did,
Some
yes.
some of them did, yeah. Seeing that the kids and like how they took those lessons from the central characters in your first book there, that'd be kind of a cool idea to see.
Hmm. Maybe when my kid grows up a little more and doesn't need so much. I mean, who knows?
Any questions from anyone else? Anyone else have comments, questions?
oh, I have a
I
comment too.
Yeah, Beth and
Him
then Raymond.
first.
Go ahead, Beth.
Okay. Um, Well, my comment would have to be that I like what Adam said about and Tennille. Adam and Tennille said something about the all those ideas that you were putting down on Facebook, Joe. Maybe compiling it into a volume 2 of the same book that you did, Mommy and Daddy and Driving the Car. I don't know what you'd call it, but you'd have to come up with a more catchier title for the next one. But that would be pretty cool.
It would be definitely be more snarky and more preteen.
Oh, I like snarky. I love
Perfect.
snarkiness. Yes.
Send it to the press.
Yes.
All right, Raymond, go ahead.
So my question is what advice or what general advice do you have just for somebody who does want to write for a young adult audience, especially for a little bit of an older young adult audience, or even a younger audience or in a middle grade?
They want snappy. They don't sit long. Um they want to be right in the middle of it right away. They get bored. So you have to put them right there and keep them there.
They have short,
Excellent questions there. Anything else? Someone was trying to say something there.
they have shorter attention spans.
Good morning. And there she comes.
She didn't want to pop in for a photobomb?
You can photobomb, but I'm in the middle of a contest.
Oh,
right
hello.
now. So if you're
Hi.
hungry, you're gonna have to figure it out or wait, okay?
All right, we saw the star of
Yeah, the
Daddy Won't Let
star of
Mommy Drive the
Daddy Won't Let
Car.
Mommy
Yeah.
Drive the car. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, the star right there.
Adam,
Photobomb.
yeah. Adam, I had a quick comment about the sequel for the Daddy Won't Let Mom Drive the Car.
Sure.
A lot of your stuff, Joe, you happen to mention cooking and things like that. So maybe you could do something like the fire extinguishers in the kitchen or something. I don't know.
She does know how to use it.
But,
We have
just
not
something that
had to
has
use
to do. Yeah, just something that has to do with the kitchen, and cooking
Yeah.
or whatever. Because they're not all cooking, but a lot of them have to do with like meals that you guys do or centered around that. So just a thought.
Right.
Wait,
Yeah,
wait,
so,
wait,
I mean, those would be good to post right now with everyone staying home cooking. You could be like cooking and she'll be behind you with the fire extinguisher.
Oh, God. Oh, that reminds me.
May
Why
or
not put
may
some of
not
your
have caught
recipes?
my hair on fire.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
That's the perfect title then.
Don't put my hair on fire? Is that
Yeah, that's a good title. Yeah.
Don't catch my hair on fire. And what about recipes? You could put some of your recipes in there.
Yeah, I think I did. Did I put? I think.
You
there
might
I
have
was-
put a
think you
few.
did. You did put some recipes in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
some
then you
good
just
stuff.
compile them all into a cookbook, and then that would work.
Yeah.
Cooking with Joe the Savage.
Good one.
All right, guys. Any other questions, comments?
Just for anybody who might have not read the book that might see this later, read the books, both of them. They are both make you think. They both will make you laugh and cry and all that stuff. They're well put together. So just want to encourage that.
Absolutely. They are fantastic books. The Bright Side of Darkness and Daddy Won't Let Mommy Drive the Car, both by J E Pinto, award-winning local Colorado author. Joe, again, my heartfelt sorry and apologies for the confusion on the time. I did record this, so it will be up on YouTube later, and I will send that clip to you today so you can have it to share with everyone who missed out or who got fed up with my ill timing.
You can go to www.brightsideauthor.com for more information, or you can go to my Facebook page, which is what is my Facebook page? Author J E Pinto. Yeah.
Joe, I'm going to type the website in the comments so it's going to speak to you. Facebook.com/ what are you, author J E Pinto?
Yes.
All right, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Have a great day. Stay warm and stay healthy. And when this is all said and done, we will have Joe down here to Parker at the RosscoLorenzo shop. Will be open by then. Hopefully, we can all hug each other and have a
Oh, that'd be
coffee
great.
and get a good
I'm
reading
excited
in.
for your store.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, details on that to come. Lots of stuff happening. I have to have phone calls and conversations and
Well, once we
paperwork.
do
And
that, Tennille should have her book by then.
Tennille, you're writing a book?
Tennille's writing 2 books, but one of them should be out soon.
And you're going to be the mayor of what? What city?
Oh,
Brighton?
not mayor. Not mayor. No.
I don't think she wants that job.
No, I am running for campaign for the Ward 2 City Council for Brighton. But for the books, I've actually got a few in the works, but one is closest to being published, and it's a children's story. Basically, it's called Mom's My Teacher. This happened last year before everything happened this year, so timing is interesting. But it's basically a kid's version of what it's like to be a homeschooler. So we'll see how that goes. But I've got the illustration characters done. Now we're just negotiating getting it, the actual spreads done so that I can get it published, hopefully. So we'll see what happens.
Good luck with all that stuff, all those things there. Good luck and good energy to you. Once again, Joe, thank you again for being online with us today. You're amazing. I absolutely adore you, and your writing is wonderful, and I hope to see a sequel and some funny posts from you with plenty of that snark.
Well, there's plenty of it, so we'll see what happens.
All right, thank you, guys. Have a great day.
You take care.
Thanks, Madam.
All right,
Take
bye,
care.
guys.
Thank you.